Listening to WICR.
And welcome back, Sports on the Fly. Rob, we have a very special guest, none other than Jersey Joe Archino.
Ian Sachs and Rob Jiggy. This is a first, and it's a pleasure.
Well, Rob and I spent the first, 2/3 of the show talking about the NBA, the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, the playoffs, the MVP race. We were talking about the playoffs, and I said, Rob, we're in March. We're talking playoff basketball. The biggest playoff basketball tournament is just 2 days away from us. We have to dedicate this last segment to it.
Look, I would lose some respect if you didn't, but I know, of course, Mr. Ian Sachs never disappoints in that regard. And let's be honest. There's really not a better time of year right now than here. If you're a sports fan, even if you're not a sports fan, everyone fills out a bracket. And it's fun because you get to talk with people who aren't necessarily sports fans, and it's just everybody can come to the party. It's just a great time.
Well, that's great that you say that because I started the show saying March is the best month for sports, and the main reason for that I would say is March Madness. So let's jump right into it. Now, you guys filling out the brackets, I have to ask this first. Do you fill out the brackets for one of there are really three reasons why people fill out the brackets. One, because this is who they think is going to win. They look at basketball and they think, this team is going to beat that team, and that's what I'm predicting. Two, because they want to pick the schools that they're rooting for. So if you're, say, a big Duke fan, you pick Duke to win it all. Or then you have the people who don't know sports and just go, I like this mascot. Oh, this team is blue? Let's go with them. How many people in your pools fall into each category?
It's funny for me, like when I was young, my dad used to always sit down with me and say, Joe, fill out the bracket with me. And I used to just pick it based on the names. Like I was like, oh, George Washington, he's great, so I'll pick George Washington University to win it all. And I think we all kind of know that historically is not a college basketball powerhouse, so that didn't quite work out. But I've learned a lot as I've gotten older, and now I fill it out like you said, Ian, just who do I think is going to win? I'm in a pretty big pool every year with almost 150 people in Irvington, and I like to think for the most part most of them know their stuff. So I think for the most part in that category, the one I'm in probably falls into this is legitimately who they think is going to win.
For me, I didn't really start filling out my brackets till like the last 4 or 5 years, so it's been legitimately like teams I think who probably going to win.
And for me, I have the wide range in my pool. I've got my brother and I looking at college basketball all season long. We're right there. Veterans Day, when the first games are, we're right there glued to the TV all the way up until this weekend with the conference tournament. So we analyze it all year long. And then you have other people in the pool who know a little bit less and kind of just go with their gut feeling. Oh, I know Kentucky's a good team usually, so I'll pick them. And then I do have some of the people that go with, well, you know what? I like the name of this school. They have a cute mascot. They have a nice color. I have some tie. Oh, my friend goes there. So it's a wide range for me, and it makes it fun because sometimes you have the analysts win, and sometimes you have the random picker win. So it's really a lot of fun. But let's jump right into it now, and actually talk about the teams that are going to be playing. Got to start with Kentucky.
Definitely.
Really? Kentucky, you think?
Have you heard about them this season?
I think they lost. No, that's I don't think they've lost a game. That's right. Yeah. No, Kentucky's just. I mean, I'll be honest, I would definitely want to get your input on this. For me, I haven't been this assured of who's gonna win since 2012 when, again, Kentucky won. Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, all those tremendous players. Since now, I haven't felt better about a team. But I just look at Kentucky. I've watched them so much this year. There's not a better team in the country who is better in the last 5 minutes of a game than Kentucky. Now, do they have a definable star who you can put the ball in their hands when a moment is tough? Maybe not, but I think it's a collective group who has size that no one else can counter and who just has depth and a skill set no one else can counter. I gotta be honest, I think it's a slam dunk Kentucky wins it all.
Yeah, their team goes 8-10 deep some games, and they have several players that are scoring over 9 points. Their squad, I really don't see anyone beating them right now.
You know, Joe, I think you said it best that they don't have a star, and that's what makes them so good.
Yes.
Because when you have a one-star, a Jahlil Okafor, or a Montrezl Harrell, or, one go-to player like that, in the final minutes, it makes it hard. It makes it easier to defend. You know the ball's going into their hands. Kentucky, with 8 McDonald's All-Americans or whatever it is,
Yeah.
take your pick of the litter who's going to be shooting it. I have no idea. It could be Willie Cauley-Stein. It could be Harrison. It could be the other Harrison. This team is so amazing. And, Joe, you said that you watch them so much. You watch them so much because they're on so much.
Oh, and there's a reason for that, yeah.
I mean, they're playing the worst team in the SEC. They're going to win by 50, and they're still on regular ESPN because they're so good.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, when you look at them, and I think we know, there's only one NBA team who has better collective height than they do, and that's the Portland Trailblazers. But, I mean, just watch them in the if I said this all year to people, if you didn't watch any college basketball all year, and you just watch Kentucky, any game they played for the last 5 minutes, you would be easily able to see that why they're so much better than everyone else. When you have loose balls or rebounds at the end of games, you can't stop Kentucky. Towns and Willie Cauley-Stein and all these guys, they have such good situational awareness. They just understand the correct play to make. And I'll ask you, Ian, and you too, Rob, I mean, the only team I think could give them a legitimate run is Wisconsin, and only because Wisconsin has length that can kind of counter them. Frank Kaminsky is a tremendous player. They move the ball well. Bo Ryan is a very good coach. I really think Wisconsin is the only one I could really see giving them a run for their money.
I like Kaminsky a lot because he could step outside and shoot. He could rebound the ball. He could pass the ball pretty well.
He can.
That squad has a lot of good ball movement with Kaminsky on the floor, and he defends pretty well. So I think you're right. You hit the nail right on the head when you said that Wisconsin could beat them because they have similar size, they match up pretty well, and they move the ball.
I think that when you look at Wisconsin's size on paper, yes, they can match up pretty well with Kentucky. But Kentucky combines size and athleticism.
They do.
Exactly.
Which I don't think for 40 minutes Wisconsin's going to be able to stay with Kentucky. Now, one team, I'm not saying that I think that they can compete with Kentucky. Well, I think they can definitely compete with Kentucky, and I think that they can be right there with them. But one team that I think that a lot of people might sleep on, and it's funny to say this, a team that's been ranked as high as number 2 for several weeks of this season, but a team that's not that well known is Virginia. This team has not had any bad losses this year. 2 losses on the season, one to Duke, who's right now ranked number 2, and one to Louisville, who's right now ranked about 15, gave Kentucky a good fight until the last 3 minutes of the game. And really, I think that this Virginia team, they take care of their business. They're great on defense. And when it comes down to it, you need a stop. I think that Kentucky, because of how many blocks they get, and Virginia are the two teams that I want playing defense for me.
I think Virginia plays the best defense in the country. When you watch them play defense, that is just picture perfect. If you're trying to teach your team, show them tape of Virginia because it is just absolutely terrific. Tony Bennett is such a good head coach. And again, like you said, Ian, they move the ball very well. Here's my problem with Virginia is the pace of play on offense is a major concern. We've seen a lot of games this year where, again, they're up by about 10 because of how good defense they play, but they play so slow on offense. And I know Tony Bennett always says that's not a problem, but I just think if they did play a team like Kentucky, Kentucky can play at any tempo they want. They'll impose their will, and if this game turns into a up-tempo type game, I just think Virginia's shown you the pace they want to play, and if they can't play at that pace on offense, they're in big, big trouble.
I was gonna say, to beat Kentucky, you need to get down to the wire, and you have to make big plays and big stops down at the end. And if Virginia could keep that slow pace and make sure Kentucky plays how they want to play, Kentucky plays the way Virginia wants to play, they could beat them. But like Joe said, Kentucky could
Impose their will.
impose their will on any team that they're playing because of how talented they are.
Yeah, those are some good points, and really, that's why I'm saying that I think that the Cavaliers can compete with Kentucky, but when it comes down to it, they're not going to beat the Wildcats.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. Now, looking at the 1 seeds for the NCAA tournament, Kentucky's going to get a 1 seed. They're going to get the overall number 1 seed.
Yeah.
No question about
it.
Even if they get blown out in their first against Florida today in the SEC quarterfinal,
About where?
they're gonna get a 1 seed. They're gonna get the overall number 1 seed. No question about it. Virginia and Duke, both out of the ACC, are right now 2 and 3. Duke's 2, Virginia's 3. Both of them get 1 seeds.
I think so. I think Duke absolutely because of how well they finished out the season. Virginia with that loss late, but I would still think the body of work for Virginia is warranted of a 1 seed.
Jiggity?
Oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think that what Virginia's done all season long, and their only 2 losses are Duke and Louisville.
Yes.
I keep going back to that. They don't have any bad losses. And, so, and with the way, as you said, the way Duke closed out the season, you have to give it to them. The 4th 1 seed, I think, is a big mystery. It always is. Do you go with Villanova? Do you go with Arizona? Do you go with Wisconsin? Do you go with Gonzaga? Now, it's not going to be Gonzaga.
No.
Their loss at the end of the season hurt them. They're not getting a 1. They'll probably get a 2 seed. Maybe they could drop down to a 3, but I like them as a 2 seed this year. But Joe, Villanova, Arizona, Wisconsin.
I think it's a very tough argument. Like you said, it's really a coin flip, but I have to go with Villanova. I think now this is also dependent on how the tournaments play out this weekend. But I think Villanova's shown you throughout the entire year. I mean, that again, I like to look at the body of work. And when the body of work shows me they've been as consistent as anybody all year, Jay Wright always does a good job. I just like that consistency. I think I can look at the film and really identify them and what their trends have been this season. I really think that they will come out of this Big East tournament. I got to keep them in my 4 spot.
I don't really know as much college basketball as you guys, but in the games that I've watched, I've seen Villanova play well. I've seen them run their offense, and I've seen them play pretty good defense. So I have to agree with Joe.
What worries me about Villanova is I feel like they don't have as strong a schedule as
Yes.
either Arizona or Wisconsin. And now, I usually don't like the whole strength of schedule argument, but I feel like when you're comparing these three teams, it's something that you have to look at. And for Villanova, they play in the Big East, which is not the old Big East of the Georgetown, the Syracuse, the UConn, the Pittsburgh, the Louisvilles, the battle that was Big East basketball a few years ago. And, now they're taking nothing away from the new Big East. Look, Villanova did sensational there, and that's why they're ranked number 4 in the country right now. But I think that just game in, game out, Wisconsin, Arizona, being able to sustain such a high level against better teams, I think that you have to look at one of them for the 4th one seed, and I actually think it's going to be Arizona. I see Wisconsin getting the 2 seed, and because I just think that Arizona, they're probably going to want a West Coast team to play in the Western region, so it fits nicely there, and it just the job that the Wildcats have done, Sean Miller leading them to the number 2 1 seed last year, Elite 8, almost the Final Four. I just like the way that this Arizona team plays, and I think that they're deserving of that 4th number 1 seed.
And you make such good points. And I mean, strength of schedule, any of these teams, I have no problem with anyone who gets in. And I'll be honest, I mean, Sean Miller is a guy whose teams always make deep runs. And I think if you're the committee and you're looking, and you definitely would like to have some West Coast representation, you can't go wrong with Arizona. Miller's shown his teams are always ready for the tournament. They're always ready to make a nice run. They've been very good this year. I would have no problem with it. I really wouldn't. Any of these teams, I think you have a legitimate case for, which is going to make it very difficult, but it's fun. And I really think whoever you put in here is very well deserving of it.
Well, that's the beauty of this time of year, because right now we're in the madness before the madness, picking who's going to be the 1 seeds, picking who's on the bubble that's gonna get in. What seed is this team gonna be? Where is that one gonna have to play? And then when the brackets get announced, then the real madness starts. So that's why I love this. Now, I'm not gonna ask you guys for Final Four predictions now, because the brackets could come out and then you have 3 of your Final Four teams in one region. Believe me, it's happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
Not fun. So, just going with the 1 seeds, I feel like that's the best we could do now. Now, right quickly, one little bit of news before we go off the air. Breaking news here. Sports Center update. Texas Rangers pitcher Yu Darvish to undergo season-ending Tommy John surgery on his right elbow this coming Tuesday. 10-7 last year with a 3.06 ERA. Joe, the Rangers had a bad year last year, and this just made their 2015 outlook that much bleaker.
You can say that again. I mean, man, it's tough. I mean, guy you really enjoy watching pitch since he's come into this league, I think. It's kind of why everybody was so enthralled with Masahiro Tanaka, is everyone was trying to find that next Yu Darvish, and Tanaka was very good in his own right, but Darvish has been a stud, and look, if the Rangers have a problem, it's in the pitching front, and this is as big a blow to their year as you could possibly get. Just a devastating injury, and I mean, you had Prince Fielder last year go down for basically the whole season. Now Yu Darvish before the season even starts. Rangers haven't had very much luck as of late.
2015 is definitely not the year that the Rangers turn it around.
And I just want to say this last thing too, Ian. I mean, remember last year, the beginning of the season, how many arms went down? It was incredible. I mean, it was disheartening, but it was just amazing how many injuries there were. The season hasn't even started, and we've got one big guy down. So definitely not the way you want to start the season, regardless of what team you are a fan of. We just like watching great players play, and we just lost a really good one.
I want to say I saw him come into his own the last couple years, and I saw him pitch very well, and it hurts to not see the best players out there even no matter. I'm not really a baseball fan, but I want to see players like Yu Darvish play.
If you're gonna watch, exactly, you want to watch the best of the best. Every sport, I mean, with Derrick Rose in basketball, with Paul George when he had his injury. As fans, we all lose when the stars go down because that's why we watch. We watch for the transcendent talent, superstars, and when they get injured, I mean, it just takes our enjoyment away.
And this cripples already bad bullpen.
Yes,
and pitching rotation.
They're done. I mean, they really are.
Well, fellas, that is all the time that we have. Sports on the Fly. Thank you for joining me, Rob Jiggity, Jersey Joe Archino. Great show today. A lot of basketball. Closing it out with some breaking news with baseball. We will be back on the air not 1 week from now because we will be on spring break enjoying the first week of the March Madness tournament. But we'll be back the following week. That's 2 weeks from today, March 27th, high noon. We will be on the air. Sports on the Fly.
WICR, rocking the campus in New